Welcome back, everyone. Draskyl here. Another replay analysis. Today we're going to be looking at the overview of a game that we deem as uncarryable as the person who is playing the Phantom Lancer. So a guy gives me a replay and he says, I felt like I couldn't win this game. Is there anything I can do? So what we're going to try to do is look at it from the perspective of what's our min-max? What could we be doing that maybe we didn't? Do we have a good start? Do we have a bad start? And is the game truly uncarryable? Now, there will be games in Dota 2 that you play that will be that way, and this is not meant to prove or disprove the point. It's just, there's going to be matches where people are going to die a bunch, they're going to play poorly, and you're going to lose, and it's going to be really easy to look at that guy and say, you're the reason why we lost. And the problem with that is when you just dismiss the game and you say, you're the reason why we lost, you're just exonerating yourself from all blame and saying that there's, essentially nothing I could do better. And then you just move on, right? Because maybe you're frustrated, or you say, oh man, even if I played perfect, I could have lost that game. What I want to try to do here is really not necessarily go by every single step super in depth, but just get an overview of okay, you're here, we could be doing this, maybe this fight's bad, etc., etc. All right, so we're going to start the replay. And again, we're playing Phantom Lancer, so this hero is very good right now. If you guys are watching this from the future, this is patch 7.19D, I believe. Phantom Lancer being one of the better heroes in the game right now. At least in the safe lane. So, we got to see him as a lane support. We're going to be going up against a Centaur. And it looks like an Earthshaker, and the mid player is contesting us for the level 1 rune.
30 seconds.
So we throw our Lance. We're kind of out of mana at the moment. Not really much we're going to be able to contribute here. And I think we're most likely going to give this bounty rune up. So what I want to do is fast forward through the beginning.
You've just achieved
our Crystal Maiden's going to die. And we are not going to get either bounty rune. But we're walking to the lane essentially with not much mana. So that's a little bit unfortunate. Looks like the Dire team already has their ward down. Got a nice little block going. We're going to play it in 2 times speed. Because this game ends up being around 50 minutes, and I don't want it to be a 50-minute video. We got some good lane control with the lane from the enemy teams already pushing. They got more melee creeps than us, and we're going for the hard control. This is good, We start off against a double melee. And it looks like the Shaker is actually just not here right now, so with just the Centaur in the lane, we know that we can control it. We've probably over-denied a bit. And when I say over-deny, I mean that this wave is definitely going to go under our tower. But right now, our CS is top of the board. Obviously, we might miss a handful onto the tower right now. But, everything else, I'm 14-9 at 2 minutes. I'm feeling pretty good about this laning phase so far. It's definitely not the worst. Now, another key point, and I actually talked to the player who gave me this replay before recording this video, is he chooses to max Lance because he has a Crystal Maiden and he ends up going Aquila as well. Normally, when you play Phantom Lancer, the skill build is almost exclusively going to be 1-1-3, and eventually you max out the Phantom Rush first, and then some PL players will even max out Doppelganger before putting an additional point into the Lance. Now, after watching how the lane played out, I think that going for the max Lance is fine, because you're laning against a Centaur and you don't necessarily want to Phantom Rush him over and over again because you take return damage and whatnot. So I don't think it's that big of a deal that he ended up maxing the Lance in this situation. He's trying to make use of the aura. He put some thought into the decision that he was going to make. And that's more than you can ask for out of a lot of Dota players, right? He thought about it. He said, wait a minute, I get free mana regen. Why don't I just take more points in a Lance to have more lane presence? So, I'm okay with this choice. We can see the Aquila's picked up pretty early. And again, our laning phase is not bad. Nothing's happening that's really hurting us too much. We might miss out on a handful of CS here or there. But the really nice thing about PL is that as soon as you hit level 6, if you really want to, you can evacuate the lane and go to the jungle if it gets really hairy. So we hit our 5. We get our 3 points in a Lance now. We can just spam it off cooldown, basically. Just make the Centaur not really able to commit for a kill. And just doing this just throwing out the lance, a lot of players will look at that and be like, okay, yeah, you're not killing him, but the idea is that you're keeping the centaur low so that he cannot fully commit. If he's always sitting at like 40% health, 50% health, if he decides to try to go for a kill, if like the Shaker comes back to lane, for example, you're going to have a situation where you're going to almost guarantee get a counter kill. But if that guy is just at full HP the entire time and you sit at full mana, having Aquila and the Crystal Maiden aura, you're basically just missing out on efficiency, right? You're missing out on free damage that you just could get. So our CM dies there. But is it really stopping us from getting farm? I mean, I suppose the Centaur has got a couple more levels now, so he's got more points into the double edge. So that's definitely something that we have to be wary of. And I think we missed 2 CS under the tower. But all in all, this lane is still not awful. I would say 42-15 at 8 minutes is acceptable in a lane that is contested. Alright, so our next choice is going to be Power Treads. That's fine. We're going to use the Courier. We could probably go buy him at the side shop. We don't actually have to use Courier here. So we got a couple of itemization choices that we're looking forward to. We can either go for the straight Diffusal, we can go for the Hood into Diffusal. I would say, given the fact that their team is very magic damage heavy, that going Hood is something that I would personally think about, either before or after the Diffusal, but before the Manta, obviously. Because if you go with Diffusal Manta, at that point, you probably don't want to buy a Hood anymore. And Hood is great on Phantom Lancer anyway, just because it allows you to almost indefinitely sustain jungle. And it just makes it really hard for those early game burst heroes to really take you down. And as we've already noticed, there's a Shadow Fiend, there's an Earthshaker, Ogre, and a Centaur. So I would say that's a lot of magic burst. You get an unlucky multicast, maybe the Centaur stomps you, maybe you get echoed. And those things they're gonna kill you, right? Still farming it up, still looking pretty good. Shaker's only level 3. Our Crystal Maiden is unfortunately gonna get blocked there. We could have gone for like the Tread Switch Doppelganger into trying to all-in that guy and maybe get a return kill. Would have been close. I'm not sure if it would have been worth the effort to use the mana there to try to go for the kill. So we're going with the 4-1-4. This is the more classical PL build that people used to do before everyone started to realize, hey, wait a minute, Phantom Rush is just really good for farming. But it looks like we are going to go for the Diffusal Rush. Keep in mind that when you go Diffusal first, just having the Diffusal Blade in your inventory is enough to start going for kills. Just having the slow and an extra lance with a couple of illusions spawn on someone, that is a lot for heroes to deal with in the early game. Especially when you're looking at very telegraphed animations, like Centaur's stun is slow, Earthshaker's stun is slow, Ogre animations are all slow. You can use your Doppelganger to basically just juke the spell, right? And these are all strength melee heroes. Well, I guess Ogre's technically int, but they all have very low base mana pools, so you can just abuse them. You can abuse their animations, and you can just run at them, drain them of mana, send your illusions on them, just be really annoying, and kind of stop them from having any lane presence. So you walk to the lane, you push, you do some harass, you jungle. And so far, the PL seems to be doing... like, it's not 100% perfect, but, you know, it's good enough. This is an ancient level game, so we're talking like 4K players. His CS is okay. He's recognized that his lane is getting a little hairy, and he doesn't really want to be there all the time anymore. And as long as his tower isn't taking free damage, I don't mind if he misses like 1 or 2 CS under the tower. It's not really that big of a deal. So we got our 2 Blades of Alacrity. I really like the fact that you use the Courier before the item's finished. A lot of players will just wait until the item's completely done. We get a nice little easy rotation into an Earthshaker kill. That feels pretty good. We're getting close to the Diffusal Blade. Now, important to keep in mind that our support player died a bunch. Like, I think right now this guy's already died, what, like... yeah, he's died 7 times in a 15-minute game. And I would say that, at least from our individual play, that we have not done anything that has really thrown that guy under the bus. Like, we never got into a fight where the CM had to commit. It was mostly just the CM would walk in and die. And like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, you're gonna have players on your team who are gonna play poorly. It's gonna happen. It's just a matter of time. So what we're gonna try to focus on is, okay, this guy's kind of feeding it a bit. Is there anything that we can do to overcome that? So like, I see that ogre right there. I'm level 12. I have max Phantom Rush. I see that as a kill. So let's re-watch this little series of events. We're gonna go back about 20 seconds. We're gonna play at normal speed. So I see this guy, and you know, he's pretty far. But I think that there's actually the possibility that you can just chase him. If you get in range to Phantom Rush, this guy either has to TP or he will just die. So if that's a kill, or if that's at least making him run away, right? And we kind of want to stay on this part of the map. Let's go to the free camera really quick. So there's an SF here. I guess he has an Invis rune, so we technically don't know he's there. Actually, it's a full Shadow Blade, so he's got some farm. This guy's in a triangle. Don't really care about him right now. Earthshaker's sitting in fog. So we got tabs on, I guess, 1 to maybe 2 heroes max if this guy has showed himself in lane recently. So I can kind of understand the idea that maybe you don't want to go for this guy. But I will tell you that in a game like this, it's actually very hard for them to kill you unless you really, really overcommit. So like, they would have to use Stampede. They would have to have multiple heroes like attacking you at the same time. And they really only have a few lockdowns. Like, this guy even went the wrong skill build. You're supposed to max Fire Blast, right? So he doesn't even have the maximum amount of damage that he could have, and you can just Doppelganger off Ignite. So this guy, he doesn't really do anything to PL at all. And that's why he's free, right? Long cast point stun, very little damage, wrong skill build. You can dispel his other form of damage. You just kill this guy. The Earthshaker, he's gone for the correct build in this game. He's got the couple of points in Aftershock. So his Echo Slam can actually chain stun. So that guy is still a bit of a threat if we're not being super careful. And we don't have a hood either. So the Shaker is definitely a threat. The Shadow Fiend is definitely a threat too. And obviously our Blink Centaur player who also has a Vanguard. But the issue that I have with the play is that we're in a situation where we pretty much have free farm. Like, we could walk bottom, we could push out that lane. Our Crystal Maiden's there. We TP to a guy with the assumption that we can maybe get a kill, and we put ourselves in a really awkward position on the map. So like, look at the way the lanes are right now. Like, we don't want to go here because there's a Shadow Fiend and there's no one really in the area. This guy doesn't have egg, he's got no HP, so we're not looking to defend this tower, right? So essentially all we can do is we can farm this, this, and this, and then there's nothing, right? We'd have to walk all the way up here, which is probably the move that I would make. I would probably farm these 2 camps, and I would probably just walk top. This is the guaranteed lane pressure. This is the thing that would force the enemy team to react. But the other issue is that since we TP'd, we no longer have a TP to get out. So now we have to think about our escape route in addition to the fact that we have to find a way to pressure lanes. Because you can already kind of tell the tone that we're setting here. It's 17 minutes in, and the enemy team already has like a 4K gold lead. Doesn't sound substantial, but I promise you it's a lot when you're dealing with this many cores. Like, there's a Shadow Fiend, Centaur is pretty durable during the mid game. There's a Shaker and a Medusa. And we pretty much only have like Invoker and PL. And our Pango is a very hard hero to play at a high level. So I normally don't have high expectations of people who play Pango unless they're like really, really good at it. So a lot of weight is on us. So every time we make a play like this, and we TP to somewhere on the map, and that TP doesn't necessarily result in a kill, or it doesn't result in like lane pressure or anything like that, it's bad, right? So like, I'm looking at this movement right here, and I say, wait a minute, the Shadow Fiend just died. I don't want to farm Ancients, I want to be running top. And the reason I want to be running top is because when you're behind, like, look at the positioning of your teammates. Not a single person right now is applying pressure on the map. We got 1 kill because the Shadow Fiend overcommitted for the tier 1, and that's great. You know, that guy screwed up. He died. Awesome. Let's make use of the space. Instead of farming the Ancients, let's try to pressure the lane so that we force someone else to TP. Because we just TP'd to a shrine, and now our TP is down. So now we're in this spot where we kind of have to make up for the fact that we wasted our own TP. But there's like one wave we could have farmed, at least. If the Medusa TPs, that guy, we counter that hero, okay? So we counter the Medusa because we just mana burn her, and even if she pops her ulti, we can just walk away. She has no inherent crowd control abilities, and we could easily just run and or kill, depending on the situation. But if you look at what Pink did, the Medusa TP top, pushed the lane to your tier 2, and then ran. And that forced you to move top. So it looks like we're going to go for the Manta style next. It is a staple PL item, I would say. But there are games where the Manta has a second purpose other than just creating more illusions. And that purpose is to dispel, or cause like some kind of chaos, right? Oh, there's a blink reveal. Okay. So I'll finish that point and then we'll talk about our death. So the first thing is that if you're going to buy a Manta style, you normally want there to be something in the game that you really either care about using Manta to get rid of, or you want the added benefit of the illusions and the chaos to really do something for you. So one of the biggest issues that we have in this game as a Phantom Lancer is our ability to just kind of go splat, as we just witnessed right there. That's why we talk about items like the Hood, that's why Hard is so common. You just don't want to die immediately in the fight. The longer you stay alive as PL, the better. The more chaos you can create, the more doppelgangers you can get off, more mana you can burn, etc., etc. So Manta style, while the Yasha is very nice for farming, it gives you a little bit of HP, not a lot. And the things that kill you in this game are not going to be solved by finishing the Manta. So let's say there was a silence in the game and you needed to be able to remove that silence. Okay, that's a valid reason to buy a Manta style, but there isn't. There's no silence. The only debuff that you can really get rid of is the Ignite from the Ogre, and that is not life-threatening to you. So normally what I would say is, instead of the Manta, maybe you want like a Hood, maybe you can go for like, I know a lot of PLs like their Shadowblade into Silver Edge builds. You could even just go Heart, right? You want to be able to live through the burst damage that they throw at you. And right now, a Yasha into a Manta style is going to give you the smallest amount of survivability in this game against what kills you, which is the Shaker and the Centaur Blink and like magical damage, right? So that's why the Manta style is not really ideal. In addition to that, we've gotten splatted by the Earthshaker Blink reveal. That's unfortunate. But let's say, you know, we could justify the death by saying, okay, yeah, that was this Blink reveal. Unfortunate. The lane was kind of pushed in. Let's go back like 20 seconds. So we're down here. I want you to look at the map right now. Like, we're obviously on Radiant Perspective. But if you look at the map, it's empty. I don't see anything. I don't see any hero anywhere. Now, normally when the map is like this, and I don't have a lot of vision, you can see like the word placement that we have is actually all towards top. So there's a couple of heroes that are kind of running around, but they're only revealed because of the free camera right now. So if we go back to the Radiant Fog, we actually can't see anything. The reason why I don't like this TP is because you're TPing very close to a tier 1. It's almost 20 minutes in. You know the Centaur has Blink, and there is not a soul on your team that is anywhere near you. You are 100% alone. So, like, if you want to be in this lane, you have to sit back, or you have to throw your illusions on the wave and just hide. Because what happens if a Blink Centaur shows up, or a Blink Earthshaker shows up, is that you die probably before anyone can help you. So what I would do is I would say, wait, what if, you know, I'm up here, right? I got like an ancient camp to farm. I could run this way. I could farm these two camps. At this stage in the game, because you're so weak to magical burst, I would say that ideally, you probably don't show in lane that much until you get an item that lets you be able to survive that burst. So again, the Hood, maybe Heart, maybe another item that gives you HP that we're not thinking of off the top of our head, but those are the two main ones, right? Even just having a Hood will save you from a Shaker. Because Shaker does not deal that much damage this early into the game, especially as a 4. But, unfortunately, that's not what happened. We TP bottom. We see, we kind of fall for the autopilot death. And I say autopilot because you just saw a tower being attacked and you said, I don't want this tower to be attacked, I'm just going to TP. And then we end up dying. So that's one death that I would say didn't really need to happen, and I would say our itemization played into it, and I would also say our decision-making played into it. So that's like 2 mistakes. And the itemization thing is big. You should never ever just strictly only ever build a specific set of items on a hero. There is always going to be room for deviation. And being able to recognize when it's the correct time to deviate is what will make you better on that hero. Alright, so we're looking at this fight mid, and it looks really bad. We've already got the Phoenix dead, the Crystal Maiden's dead. I would probably just be running towards bot lane right now. Alright, so they commit in. Let's see how this plays out. So we get the deny. We get 2 kills. And you know what? The play works, right? Like the whole situation that just played out, it seems like, okay, that wasn't so bad. Right? We walked mid. Fight broke out. We got a couple of hero kills. Tower still goes down, which is a bit of a bummer. But there is an alternative, right? There's always an alternative play. So we watched what actually happened. But if we go back to here, and we see, like, our Phoenix is still dead, at this point, I'm thinking to myself, do I even want to defend this tower? Like, if I'm thinking of it logically, it's like, okay, they got good team fight, our egg's down. I guess we kind of have all of our heroes here, which is, like, everyone being in the same spot is a big, okay, let's fight. If it was just 2 or 3 heroes defending, I would say you definitely run. But since we have so many heroes here, it seems like a better idea to kind of stick around and see how it plays out. But normally, if it were me, and I saw this, and I was like, okay, maybe I wait around for like an extra 4 or 5 seconds. I see a lane down here that I want to push. And there comes a time in the game where I will often just, sometimes I'll even walk past neutrals. I'll just be like, nope, not killing these, running straight for the lane. And the reason I want to do that is because our lanes are being pressured constantly, and it doesn't really seem like we're getting much in the way of kills. Like, we're behind 13 kills, net worth behind on towers. Like, we're essentially just behind on everything. And when that happens, sitting in the jungle is often detrimental if no one else is pushing the lane. So right now we got 5 heroes mid. No one's pushing top, no one's pushing bot. This fight needs to wrap up, and then we need to go push a lane like ASAP. So I look at this tower and I see, okay, this tower is below half HP. I don't really care about this tower that much. And I'll be honest, in this patch in general, defending your tier 1s to the death is often the biggest trap that you can fall for in a pub game. Defending your tier 1s will screw you over often. And the best part is, the people that defend those tier 1s, they will ping their teammates and say, hey, why are you not defending this tier 1? The truth is, your safe lane tier 1 and your mid tier 1 are probably going to die a lot if you're losing the early game. And it is better to just pressure the other lanes than it is to put 5 heroes here and defend it. Because you'll get more experience and more gold. And, you know, sometimes maybe you'll even get a trade. Maybe you'll trade tower for tower. And that ends up being more beneficial for the team that's behind because you don't win that fight. Like, if the fight breaks out at a tower, you might not even win it, right? The Centaur had Blink Vanguard at like 14 minutes. So I'm looking at that guy and I'm going, oh god, I don't want any part of this. Just get me away from this tower. But you know, Dota is a very complex game. And sometimes decisions like this can work out. But I just want you guys to be aware that there's multiple ways to play this. Alright, let's get back on our player perspective. So we get our 2 kills. We go back to farming. And our teammates are actually in the side lanes for once, which is nice. We should not be scared of an ogre. That guy scaring us off is pretty telling of the state of mind of the PL player in this game. Ogre is probably the least scary hero on their team for you. So we're looking at top. We want to go for a fight. We get in, we find the Centaur, we get a valuable kill. Right now it's a 3 for 2. This is great for us. If we could have found a shake or 2, that would have been even better. But this turns into a tower, so great little movement. Okay, so let's look at this whole thing again. We got 3 heroes down. The Shaker already used Echo. And we just bail right away. Now, efficiency, and the greedy part of me would say, I would at least try to farm this. Or I would walk back and I would farm here, farm here. TPing, when you have just eliminated 3 threats from the map, and you can see the Shadow Fiend, right? So the one hero that can kill you right now is a Shaker. But the Shaker is actually in base. Because he saw a bunch of heroes up there and he went back. Now, I'm not saying you should push this all the way to the tower, but I'm saying you should at least wait a second or two, right? Because what happens if this creep wave meets with the next one and the Shaker doesn't show? Chances are that guy's not baiting you because he's not a top 100 Immortal player. So if he's not baiting you, that means that this lane is just empty now. And you get farm here, and then you get farm here, and then you get farm here and here and here. And you could just bring out like a healing salve or two. And what ends up happening is that you're higher level, you get more gold, whatever you purchase on the regen is going to be far outweighed by the camps that you take, and you're out on the map longer. One of the biggest rules of Dota, especially as a core, do not go back to base unless you are forced to go back to base. I'm talking about kicking and screaming, dragged by the freaking belt. You are not getting me back into the base unless you make me go. That's how you make sure that you stay relevant. This TP plays against that kind of mentality. This is a TP of, I just got my objective and I want to get out because I'm at like 40% HP. But what I'll tell you is that you look at how many heroes are dead, you look at the map, and you say, I can account for 4 of the 5 heroes on the enemy team. And then you wait 5 to 10 seconds and see if the Shaker's still top. If he's gone, you push one wave, you jungle, 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 bring some regen, maybe you walk back to another lane. But this TP is like the... Let's like try to ballpark it, right? So one large camp, let's say it's like 100 gold. We're going to lowball it. A medium camp is like 75 gold, maybe like... It's probably more, but again, we're lowballing. So we'll say we missed, including the Ancients, that's like, what, 400 gold-ish? Just by TPing back to base. And that's not including the EXP that we lost either. And we're also giving up our positioning on the map. If I'm in a game where I'm behind, I'm going to fight tooth and nail for my positioning on the map. I'm going to sit there, I'm going to hide in trees, I'm going to wait for that next wave. I'm always going to try to pressure. If I can't pressure, I will never win the game. And the unfortunate part is, even though we have a PL on our team and an Invoker, obviously, like, everything's not going super well for us, and we don't have that finality of a 6-slotted PL because they do have heroes with some AoE. They can actually take us out. So in games like this, where you don't have the luxury of just sitting on your laurels and farming 6 items and saying, okay, yeah, we can just win now because I have all this stuff, that's not going to happen here. You're never going to get to that stage in the game where you just say, I have finished farming, and you walk out of the woods and then you just win. It's not going to happen. So I'm looking for pressure, pressure, pressure. I see a huge fight break out bottom. I'm walking into their woods. I'm going to try to make my way towards top. This is nice movement. You can account for their heroes. You know that there's a good chance that they might have TPs. But at least we're in the lane pressuring. And we TP'd a bit prematurely there again. Like, if we go back... Let's say... So we TP'd before we even saw the Shadow Fiend teleport. Once again, we jumped the gun on our TP. So, like, we could walk maybe to the Ancient camp, we could walk to the large camp, we could even cut down, kill this camp, and go to mid. And the difference between TPing, again, we're TPing all the way back to base, so let's think about what is our move after we TP back to mid. We're at full health, full mana, we're TPing to base, sorry, not mid. Where are we going to go after we get here? This side of the jungle is empty, I guess it'll respawn in like 6 seconds. Okay, so we can jungle, or we can jungle. We're not going to defend this tower because there's a bunch of heroes here and we got 2 dead. So instead of like TPing like this, what I would do is I would run down. Like I said, the jungle is going to respawn very soon, so for the same reason that we could farm this, we could also just farm this camp again, and this camp, and this camp, and this camp. I don't want to give up my position. It doesn't matter if you have the Manta in your inventory or not. You can always use a courier no matter where you are. You know that 3 or 4 of the enemy team are bot. The only person you saw TP is Shadow Fiend, and that guy can't kill you. He needs a disable to be able to take out the PL. So when we TP across the map and we go back to base, now all of a sudden we have to think about, how am I going to get pressure on the map again? I'm in a position right now where I can get pressure, or I can at the very least farm a side of the map that my team can't easily get to. So let's say I can't push the lane anymore. It's still better to be farming on their side of the map, because you're not taking away farm from other heroes on your team. Normally you'd be the guy taking this camp and this camp and this camp and maybe even the Ancients too. So because you take those, your team can't get them. But if you're already here, and then you take these camps instead, that means it's free for all. You know, anyone who's over here, you know, assuming they're not dead, could potentially farm those. I know it's a lot of information to digest, but I just want you to think of it simply. Do I need to go back to base right this second? Is something forcing me to go back to base? If the answer is no, then you can think about stuff that is within your reach to do. So we TP home, and let's see how it plays out. You know, maybe something good happens from this TP. Maybe we defend, maybe the enemy team overextends, I don't know.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Okay, so what happens is we die. So that's probably the worst case scenario.
Thanks for playing Dota 2. Double kill.
So the difference between just staying top for another, you know, 10 to 20 seconds and TPing back to base resulted in us dying. Now, there's going to be a lot of, well, he could have used this ability better, he could have, you know, his teammates are bad, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about any of that. I don't care if you're Miracle and you played that fight perfectly. Because I will tell you that Miracle probably would not have TP'd back to his base like that, just for no reason. He wants to be able to get the maximum amount of farm that he can, he wants to get the most amount of pressure that he can, and you're not going to get that by TPing back to base. Alright, so this fight seems to be going alright. Waiting for the Medusa ulti to wear off, thinking about maybe going back in. We get hit by a stun, Medusa's going to pop the BKB. Okay, so this guy's like really strong. And it's pretty apparent that we're not going to kill her. So again, we're going back to base. But instead of going back to base, let's look at the map. My top shrine's up. So I have my TP. I have a shrine. Now, I'm not saying we should TP to the shrine, but I will say that because you knew where all of their heroes were, and to be honest, at this point, you probably could have even just gone back in, because this guy doesn't have BKB, and this guy doesn't have a BKB at all anyway, he just has Manta. So there's a chance that we could have fought. This guy has Fire Spirits, has Dive, all of his abilities are up. Maybe we win this fight, maybe we don't. I don't really care about the fight too much, even though it is possible that we could have walked away from that with a W. What I will say is, if your shrine's up like this, there's some big fight happening right near our tower. Every hero in the game is there. We could just walk away if we're not sure if we can impact the fight, right? We can walk away, we can walk up to the shrine, pop the shrine. You know, we'll be at like 90%-ish health and mana. Probably full mana, actually. And then we just push top. It's super simple. Like, let's rewind. We're gonna keep going further back, further back. Let's play this at normal speed. So the fight starts off. We get a really nice Cataclysm. The Shaker's at like no HP. He's gonna die to the Pango. And our Invoker gets traded for the Ogre and the Shaker. So now it's a 4v5. But we're not entirely sure if we want to commit. Maybe we were waiting for that guy to blink, which he did. So now we're gonna Doppelganger and try to get away. But at any point, like... Were we checking the hero's health and mana levels? Were we looking at it and saying, okay, yeah, I can maybe go back in on this? Were we talking about anything regarding winning the fight or
This is Gabe Newell.
You know, like having the defusal and the Manta with no BKBs out and all ultimates down like that, that's potentially an opening for us. So we TP back. We're looking for the Shadow Fiend, but we're not going to find him. So we had two things that we potentially could do better there. We could maybe commit to the fight a bit harder after the Medusa BKB was down. Or we could just be top pushing. And now that we've wasted our TP, it's going to kind of tether us to this side of the map. Whenever you have to TP defensively, it feels pretty bad, right? Because you're like, oh man, I TP'd back to base. Now I can't really like split push that much. I can't get back into a place where I feel comfortable being in a side lane. Like even right now, we're walking away from potential farm, right? And we know the Shaker Echo should be down. So where are we, like what's our game plan here? The Shaker used Echo in the team fight. It should still be, yeah, it's still down for like 40 seconds. I'd say we just walked away from a free wave. Maybe even more than one. Okay, so it looks like just one because the Shadow Fiend is there. But again, the Shadow Fiend can't solo kill us.
Yes.
Radiant's top tower.
You need to always be aware, as a core hero or anyone else, if you're going to be occupying a side lane, what heroes kill you? What heroes do you need to be like, oh crap, this guy just kills me 1v1? So like Shaker is obviously scary, Centaur is scary, but the other ones like the Medusa, the Ogre, the Shadow Fiend, those heroes aren't scary at all. They're only scary if there's another hero with them. But we're starting to lose more and more map control, so we feel restricted in the things that we can do. And I'm still not really looking for a team fight. I don't want to get into a 5 versus 5 altercation and just kind of throw caution to the wind and get in there, you know? But see, here's the thing that I notice a lot, is we are constantly running backwards. Every time we are unsure as to where everyone is, we're just walking backwards. Now, the one thing I will say is that I enjoy the fact that it seems like you're pretty decisive with the movements that you make. So when you decide that you want to go back, you just go back, and that's good. But instead of being decisive about just walking away, I want you to try to like hesitate a bit. So let's say we kill this wave, right? I want you to go back and sit in the trees, right? Like you walk down here, you kind of sit there for a second and you wait. And the reason why we wait is because we're working with little information, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen. And because we don't know what's going to happen, our first instinct is to back out. So because we back out, what are we doing? We're giving up our map position. We're giving up the ability to pressure. So instead of just running back to base, what I want you to do instead is to just sit in the trees. By sitting in the trees, you're not necessarily influencing the creep equilibrium one way or the other, but once you start to see other heroes show up on the map, you can decide at that point what the better choice is. Because you're making the decision too early. You're making the decision like 5 or 10 seconds before you're going to have more information to work with. And as soon as you have that information, you can make a more educated choice because you waited. Now, the difference between that and running back is by the time you run back, it will take you even more time to get back to where you were. And again, we're just running straight backwards, even though we saw a bunch of heroes. So yeah, there's a lot of just walking away from stuff. Like we want to try to fight Roche. Like this fight isn't good. There's no way this fight's gonna be good. This Centaur is standing up on this hill intentionally because he wants you to attack him. He's sitting up here because he's the tankiest hero on his team, and he knows that if he gets jumped, there's probably ample time for the rest of his heroes to help. You should not even be on this side of the map. You should be down here. You should be bot. You should be pressuring. Because what happens if we fight this and it goes wrong? What happens if we fight this and we all die and they get the Aegis? Well, all of a sudden, that fight seems pretty silly, right? Because we didn't actually stop them from roaching. Now, I guess I'm speaking a little bit soon, because I don't actually know if you guys win this fight or not, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say it doesn't go great.
They're unstoppable.
Alright, so we're kind of just chilling. We're chilling. We don't want to commit. Everyone's dying. Yeah, this fight was just... There's nothing we can do here. Like, actually nothing. So let's think about, you know, actually we'll let it keep playing. Let's think about how much time that we spent either just running backwards or running away from farm or taking fights that probably didn't need to be taken in the first place. Now, is this game truly, truly uncarryable? I don't think so. I don't think that this game is so far out of reach. Yeah, 17k is a lot. But when I see a game and I say, wow, this is uncarryable, there's got to be some really, really bad stuff happening. And yes, my CM has died a bunch, but besides that, that's pretty much the only thing that I'm looking at and saying, okay, this guy is definitely playing bad. But it's a CM. So like my contribution as a PL should be much higher than a Crystal Maiden at any given point in the game. I think with like Hood Diffusal or Hood Diffusal into like something else, maybe a Shadow Blade to play the side lanes more, maybe a Heart to get into the team fights, that there is a good chance that you just win this game. Your hero is still really strong, even though they have like a counter pick against you. Alright, so we're going to TP behind them. We want to try to make some kind of flanking maneuver. But like, look at how much time we're just like walking back and forth. We're like, I don't know. I kind of want to fight this, but it feels bad. And then look what happens. Look at the way we're running. We're running backwards to the base. I want to show you guys something really quick. This lane right here, this is an open lane. This lane right here, this is an open lane. I can account with just vision for pretty much every single hero on the enemy team. Why would I run to the one place on the map where I know I can't beat them? If they're going to walk up here with 5 heroes and they're going to have an Aegis, I don't want to fight it. Like, I don't want to fight it if my CM's dead. I don't want to fight it if my Egg's down. I don't want to fight it if my Pango doesn't have Rolling Thunder. So why, instead of walking this way, am I not walking to the empty lane? This lane is, there's nothing here. You could just walk up here, and you know what happens? Maybe someone TPs. If someone TPs, that's fantastic. That's the best thing that could happen. Because if that guy TPs, that means they're not barreling down your mid lane with an Aegis and 5 heroes. You want them to TP. You want to be sitting in a side lane. We've established that we've been behind probably like almost all of this game. So as soon as you make the connection that, hey, I'm behind, and then you also make the association of what heroes scare me, all I have to do is watch out for those heroes and sit in side lanes. That's it. And also don't run backwards whenever people are just, you know, not showing. So there's a couple of key points, right? Don't back unnecessarily. Sit in trees and wait. Recognize the heroes that kill you and stay away from them. Sit in side lanes. That's it. That is literally it. But now we're kind of in this like limbo, right? Sitting here going, ooh, I'm now sitting in the base. And sitting in the base feels real bad because I'm not getting any farm. I'm not getting any pressure out in the map. And even if they push, chances are, you know, maybe we defend. Maybe we get crazy lucky. And the game ends up going like another 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes. Who knows how long the game goes, right? I mean, obviously we know because we have the replay bar. But in the game yourself, when you're in this position, try to imagine yourself as a PL. Just remember that you can always just walk to a side lane. Now, this isn't the solution to every single problem, but it is a very good thing to understand when you can do it and how effective it can be. And there will be games where you just die. There will be games when you walk at the side lane and you die and you go, wow, that was silly. But you can recognize why you died. You can say, oh, well, the Shaker was miss, and I didn't know where he was, and he echoed me, and then I died. Kind of like how the Blink reveal killed us in the bot lane earlier in this game. But those types of things are more forgivable and more like a mechanical thing, like increasing your map awareness or, you know, being able to understand movement a little bit better. Those things can be worked on. The general decision-making of just always being on the defensive and running away and running away and running away, that will never win you a game. So again, we're baited into this fight, and I'm still of the mind that I don't ever want to take this fight. Ever. Like, I don't want to be anywhere near the enemy team right now. I want to be top. I want to be, you know, maybe I can cut a wave or two mid. Maybe I can be at the top part of the shrine and just killing neutrals over there. Anything is better than running and just sitting there, like, going back and forth, because you're essentially just wasting time. It's just golden experience that you're not getting. It's map pressure you're not getting. And I know that I'm like reiterating a lot of these points, but you guys need to understand how important it is. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that this PL could have a full heart and maybe another completed item if he just played the map better. That's all you have to do. You just have to play the map better. You could have, like, heart +1. Like heart butterfly, or heart abyssal blade, or heart... whatever it is you want to buy. Heart Scotty. It doesn't matter, right? The idea is that you would have had more gold. You would have opened up more opportunities for fights, because chances are your lane pressure forces the enemy team to TP.
Godlike.
And those TPs could result in the enemy team maybe overestimating their strength and taking a fight 4v5 or 3v5 or whatever. Alright, so another fight breaks out. This one's going to be inside of our base. We get a nice 4-mana 8. We probably want to be hitting the Shaker. Alright, we're going to get ourselves out of there. The Earthshaker is dead. Nice little Cataclysm. Helps defend the base. Get the kill on the Ogre with that. And hey, our tier 3 is still standing. This is pretty good. So we defended the base. We got 2 kills. Did we get the Aegis? I can't remember if we got the Aegis or not. Okay, so we did. So they got no Aegis now. We defended the tier 3. That's great news. They didn't end the game with their push. So now we have a lot more time. We have enough money to finish our heart, I believe. Yep, there we go. So now we really want to be pushing this lane. We really want to be pushing that lane. Like, we have a heart now. The Shaker is dead. If we go back to base right now, or we're not continuing to pressure the wave, like, again, this is a ton of pressure that we're just losing. We don't have to walk back here. We have 3,000 HP. What hero on the enemy team is going to take out 3,000 health? What hero on the enemy team kills me? Why am I sacrificing map positioning and pressure when I have 3,000 health and Doppelganger? The idea behind this game is that at the very beginning we mentioned the thought process of the individual who gave me the replay, and he said that he felt like the game was unwinnable. I would venture to say that this game was very winnable, and that it's also possible that the Phantom Lancer could potentially have just won this game on his own. As long as you understand how to play the map, you itemize correctly, you can do so much. Like, watching this replay and just explaining the idea of, like, going the 1 extra wave or continuing to pressure or not just immediately backing when stuff becomes scary and waiting in the trees for a couple of seconds so that you can go to the wave after and maybe even the wave after that. All these things, they come together to create a completely different experience in Dota. Because if you're just running away and running away and running away and walking to bad fights and then running away some more, when do you actually have time to hit creeps? Like, 331 CS at 39 minutes sounds like, oh, you know, okay, that's not so bad. And yeah, it's not so bad, but it could be way more than that. It could be so much more than that. You could have, like, 500 CS. And the difference of 500 CS is a completed item. Like, not even just a small one. I'm talking, like, 5,000-6,000 gold extra. And then that net worth lead doesn't seem so bad. You know, 24k as opposed to, like, 19 or 18k. At a tier 3 tower, that's still winnable. And maybe because we win one of those fights, because we have an extra item, we close the net worth gap even more. It can be very overwhelming to look at a game like this and say, wow, they're ahead by 24k. This game's just over. And you know what? Maybe they do eventually lose. Maybe they don't win. And the PL goes on about his day and he goes, man, my team was awful. And maybe they were. Maybe they were awful. Maybe they took bad fights. Maybe they did everything wrong. But there are so many things that we could have done differently. And I mean so many things. Keep in mind that this is just like the most basic of basic ideas when I'm talking about like where you could be, what you could be buying, the way that you're running around the map and trying to take these fights that you just shouldn't be taking in the first place. These are just general ideas. It's nothing about execution, it's nothing about mechanics, it's just, why am I standing here? Alright, so the enemy team is pushing our base. We're gonna get a blink stun cast on us. Don't really want to attack the Centaur that much. And the Medusa's kind of just beating away on the racks. Our team doesn't really seem like they want to go in. And we don't have an MKB or anything like that, so attacking the SF and attacking the Medusa just feels kind of bleh. Alright, so our Invoker biffed the combo a bit there, but hey, this doesn't look that bad. We found the Earthshaker in the back, the Ogre died. We got some illusions on the Medusa. Medusa is completely out of mana, by the way. We get Alacrity cast on us, trying to make our way out. Doesn't look like it's gonna work. So we overcommit. And, ooh, maybe we live?
Goodness.
That'd be really nice if we lived there.
Kill.
Alright, we didn't live. So we died. We got buyback. So, what I want to, like, let's pause it right here, because we know the game is kind of getting closer and closer to being finished. Let's play it a little bit more, because I don't want that noise to just keep going off. But, like, look at how difficult it actually is for the enemy team to kill us. Even when we're not playing, like, optimally, right? Like, say we even defend this and we only lost one set of racks. Like, look at that. We killed the Medusa. 1,200 gold in the bank. Boom, just like that.
It happened again. Double kill.
And then we get another kill on top of that. We get a Shaker, so we lose 1 racks. The SF ulti does, like, no damage. Could probably still be fighting that, to be honest. But, like, let's pause and talk about some stuff, okay? We almost defended without losing racks, with us being, like, an item or 2 items behind where we could be. So let's say, hypothetically, we have, like, a Butterfly and an MKB, or an Abyssal and an MKB, or, you know, a Scotty and whatever, okay? Add any 1 or 2 items to this PL's build, and tell me that fight goes the same way. Tell me that fight doesn't end with us potentially even protecting the racks and just getting kills, right? If either of those things happen and the enemy team walk to our base like that and we just have like 5 to 10k more net worth, which by the way is completely feasible in this situation, it's not that crazy. Like if we compare like these guys, right, they're in the lead. If we're farming effectively, we could be right up there. We could be right up there with a Shadow Fiend or right up there with a Medusa. It is not impossible. And I would actually say in this game, due to the nature of how grouped together the enemy team was, that it is plausible that we could have that net worth. Now, we compare our equal net worth hero with theirs, and we throw it into a fight. It's a completely different ballgame. We maybe kill them all. They maybe don't get the racks. Then maybe we have a huge lead because the enemy team threw their bodies at us and it didn't work. Or maybe not a huge lead, but we cut their lead down, right? So, all the things that I'm telling you, when I say that they come together, they like culminate in this idea that I'm just going to have more stuff. Anyone who's ever played like StarCraft or StarCraft 2, whatever, the macro versus the micro game, when you're at this level, imagine it as your macro game. You're trying to work on your timings, you're trying to work on being efficient, and you're trying to work on having like the right mindset for the game. Once you have those things, you'll just have more stuff. You'll have more items. You'll have more time to decide like what you want to do. You'll itemize properly. And then later on down the road, you can start thinking about, do I want to TP to this fight? Do I want to TP to that fight? Am I ready to fight? That stuff comes later. Right now, I just want to talk about how do I have the most amount of things at X minutes in the game. That's what all this stuff is going to try to help. So we got a 30k deficit to overcome. I would say that it's getting a little bit hairy now. Maybe we can't really come back from just one fight. But like 2 or 3 fights where things start going well for us, then we're talking, right? But it's going to be difficult. We're thinking about buying a BKB. I would say this item is a result of us not having more stuff. If we had more items, this BKB would probably not feel as necessary as it does right now. Not only that, but BKB is just not good against Medusa, because her ultimate will freeze you even if you're magic immune. So I would say the BKB is probably the incorrect choice, and I would be looking for like an MKB, because both their cores have butterflies, or maybe a Scotty, or maybe an Abyssal Blade. Anything that's going to help me stay in the fight longer or stay on my target. But like, look how easy it is for us to kill that guy. He's got like 7k more net worth than us. Before that fight happened, it was even more, right? Like he had almost 10k net worth on us, and we still just chop him to pieces like butter. As soon as we get on him, he just dies.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Dire are scanning.
So we're making our way towards top. We got a 5,000 in the bank. I'm still thinking that MKB is probably one of the better items we can get here. Abyssal would be nice too. Just so that when they BKB, you can kind of lock them down, get some damage on them. And let's check our buyback status. Okay, so no one has buyback. It's kind of the stage in the game where it's kind of winding down. We're waiting for the inevitable, okay, the enemy team's going to group up as 5 and just walk down our middle lane, and that's just going to be the end, right? Like, that's most likely the way that this is going to go down.
One of my favorites.
So we buy our BKB. We'll see if it really does anything for us in the team fight. My guess is that it's not really going to make much of a difference at all. It doesn't solve our issues right now. We'll try to fast forward this one a little bit so we can get towards the end, because I think the replay ends in a couple of minutes.
Roshan has fallen to the dark.
Alright, so they Rosh again. We could have been pushing side lanes. Let's go a little faster. Enemy team's kind of grouping up. Shadow Fiend was showing bot. That guy does have bots, so he will be able to be present. And we're kind of just trapped in the base. We're trapped in the base. We spent a lot more time kind of walking around, not really sure where we wanted to go or what we wanted to do. And we pop our BKB and it's like, okay, yeah, we're magic immune and that's great and everything, but we still can't really sit here and attack stuff. We get frozen by the Medusa ulti. She's gonna pop the cheese.
Double kill.
But I would go as far as to say that the BKB doesn't really help us live that much. Sure, it'll help us live through like the shaker combo or whatever. But if you can go on him in the beginning of the fight and like make him use spells on you solo, it's not really that much damage. And then you're always gonna have, you know, the doppelganger on the low CD to be able to like reset and try to get your health back during the engagement. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and stop the replay here. We've been mega'd. There is a 48,000 gold lead on the enemy team, and I think this one is more or less in the books. I hope that I explained everything in a digestible fashion so that you guys can kind of understand where I'm coming from when I say just be in a side lane. It is really just as simple as it sounds. There will be things that you're not going to be able to like understand the first or the second time or the third time that you do it. But just doing it is extremely helpful. Like not running back to base every single time or TPing back to base every single time, you know, you're missing even a little bit of HP. Try to stay out on the map. Try to get as much efficiency, like squeeze every bit of gold and EXP out of the part of the map that you have before you are forced to go home. And even if you die doing this, remember that if they're TPing to where you are and you're at one of the enemy team tier 2s, that it's okay because they're not taking one of your objectives. So when you can't fight and you don't want to defend towers, remember that the side lanes exist for a reason, and they're an incredibly powerful tool that you can use to increase your MMR or your win rate or whatever your goals are in Dota 2. So, that being said, that's the end of this video. Thank you guys very much for checking it out. If you want to catch me live, you can do it on twitch.tv/Draskyl, same as it's spelled on the YouTube. And if you want to follow me on Twitter as well, it's Twitter/DraskyldOta2 with a TWO. Thank you guys again. We'll see you next time.